This is Pilates intermediate level. Today we're going to go through some progressive levels of exercises previously shown in other mat work videos. No equipment is required for this program. You just need a small head block or towel to go underneath your head and a mat on the floor. We're going to start today with hip twist level 3. Lie on your back with your knees bent up in the Pilates rest position. Your legs and feet should be hip width apart, shoulders drawn down, your neck long and your center engaged. So find your core, find your neutral position. Inhale to prepare and then exhale as you float your leg into tabletop. Inhale and hold this position. Exhale, keeping your leg in tabletop, glide the leg outwards from your hip joint. Inhale, draw the leg inwards until your left knee is directly above your left hip. Place the leg and foot back down on the floor. This is good for hip control, using some of the rotating glute muscles. It's also good for rotational stability and hip pelvic dissociation. Whilst you're moving one leg, make sure to keep the other leg nice and still. If you feel any wobbling of the non-moving leg, stop the moving leg, bring it back in and place it back down on the floor. Just be mindful of how much range of movement you're using and try and keep control at all times. The next exercise we're going to move on to is side kick level 2. Your starting position for this exercise is to lie on your side with your shoulders and hips stacked. Ensure that your back is in neutral, so you're not leaning back, and your center is engaged. You can rest your head on your outstretched arm, or you can place a block underneath your head. You are inhaling to prepare for this exercise, and then as you exhale, breathe out. You lift the top leg to hip height, then glide this leg steadily forwards from your hip joint, keeping the leg lifted at hip height. We bring the leg back when we inhale, above the underneath leg, keeping your leg lifted at hip height. The leg is remaining up the whole time until you return to the start position. Making sure that as you glide the leg forwards and back, you're keeping the leg nice and long, and you're not allowing the knee to bend. Try and keep your center engaged, keep your hips nice and stable, no wobbling back and forth. The bottom leg is also outstretched and long to maintain stability. This exercise is also good for the glutes, and it's good for working on a little bit of flexibility at the hamstrings as well. You would do repetitions on one side before changing over and doing the same thing on the other side. You can have your top hand on your hip, but if you do require a little bit of extra stability, you can just pop your top arm slightly out in front of you on the floor to give you a little bit more balance. As Nathan's shown you here, I'm just going to turn over and do the same thing on the other side. Working from the hip, making sure not to move the knee and not to swing from the knee. All the movement is coming from the hip, which enables those glutes to activate nicely. Remembering to keep the ankle nice and neutral, keeping the toes up towards you. The next exercise we're going to move on to is called Scissors Level 2. Lying on your back again with your block or towel underneath your head, starting in the Pilates rest position, legs and feet hip width apart, shoulders drawn down and neck long. Engaging through your core, you'll float one leg up into single tabletop position, and then you will engage the muscles between the ribs and the hips to flatten your back to the floor as you lift the second leg up into tabletop position. Breathing in to inhale and holding the double tabletop position, ensuring that the back is flat to the floor. Exhale as you lower your left leg and tap the floor with your toes. Breathe in and bring the leg back to tabletop position. You'll then alternate legs, breathing out as you lower the leg to the mat, breathing in as you bring the leg up. During this whole movement, you want to keep the back flat to the floor. If at any time you feel that the back is arching, just bring the legs gently back down to the floor, reset your position and go again. The next exercise we're going to go to is double leg stretch level 4. This also utilises the double tabletop position. So lying on your back with your knees bent up in the Pilates rest position, legs and feet hip width apart, core engaged, floating the legs one at a time into the tabletop position, remembering to engage the muscles between the ribs and the hips to make sure that the back is flat to the floor. So with this exercise, you are breathing out as you take the arms and legs out, breathing in as you bring the arms and legs back in. You're rotating through the shoulders for shoulder control, and you're stretching one leg out away from you. This exercise is really good for maintaining stability between the upper limbs and lower limbs. It's also allowing control of the core as you're doing different movements. Again, the key to this is to keep the back nice and flat to the floor and keeping the movements well controlled. If you start to feel the back arch from the floor, reset your position and go again. Moving on, we have our shoulder bridge level 3. For shoulder bridge, you remove your head block or towel from underneath your head so that your neck and head are relaxed down on the mat. Feet and knees hip width apart, starting in the Pilates rest position. Inhale to prepare. As you breathe out, roll the hips and pelvis backwards to flatten your back to the floor. Squeeze through the glutes and lift up from the mat. Once you have reached this position, breathe in and then breathe out. Lift one leg and lengthen it away from you, trying to imagine you are reaching for the wall in front of you. Try and maintain this position in the shoulder bridge and continue with movements alternating the legs for 6 to 10 repetitions. Try and ensure that your pelvis does not drop down towards the floor between each movement, and also to make sure that the pelvis is not rolling to one side as you are straightening one leg out. If this is too difficult, come back to the floor and just try with less repetitions to begin with. This is really good for glute activation and also your core stability. Our final exercise is starting in a seated position for a roll-up. So sitting on the mat with your legs slightly bent in front of you, making sure that you are sat in a nice neutral position on your sitting bones. Lengthen through the upper spine, back of the neck, looking out straight in front of you. Arms out nice and long. Inhale to prepare, and as you breathe out, you are rolling off the back of your sitting bones, segment by segment, lowering your vertebra to the mat until your head touches the floor. Sweep the arms up, and as the arms come back, you bring your pelvis forwards and your chest up. This movement should be well controlled throughout, and you're utilising mobility of the spine as well as your abdominal muscles.